Okay, well, greetings everyone. My name is Brandon Kyle. I'm the Director of Alumni and Family Engagement here at Pitzer. I just want to start off by saying thank you all so much for joining us today for a very special community welcome. Today we are honored to have the opportunity to connect with our Pitzer families who are based internationally. And while we're disappointed that we can't welcome you in person as we've done before, we're delighted to have the chance to see and hear from you virtually. This social welcome will be a tad bit different from what many of you are used to, perhaps, in that we are virtual, of course, but also because of the intimate size of our group today. So we're probably perhaps have the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper and have more of an open discussion after our campus leaders have shared their updates. We are recording, so this will be distributed later. So this is a great opportunity for those who may not have been able to join us today to also get a little bit of the insight in where we're moving forward together. Before we get started, I thought it would be a great idea to perhaps go around the group and briefly introduce ourselves. We can start with our panelists, then our families, as well as our students on the call. And I'd like to start things off by welcoming Pitzer College President Melvin Oliver to the call. President Oliver, would you like to kick things off and also introduce your special guest this morning?
That must be me.
Yes. Thank you, Brandon. Welcome, everyone. I'm Melvin Oliver, the 6th president of Pitzer College, and I'm joined this morning by my wife, Suzanne Oliver, to my left. And did you want me to go ahead and just...
I think they're going to go around.
Yeah.
Do you want everyone to go around?
Yeah, I think so. We can start with our panelists. So Alan, if you don't mind, and then Mike.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Alan Omoto. I am the Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of Faculty here at Pitzer College, which is all a very long way to say that I oversee all of the academic programming here at Pitzer, including working with faculty and then curricular issues for students, and also working with students on some petitions and grade disputes and things like that. So I do all academic work here at Pitzer. And it's good to see you all.
Hi there. Good day, everyone. My name's Mike Sagala. I'm the Vice President of our Student Affairs, and I do all the other stuff that Alan doesn't do. I do all the non-academic things, the student and campus life services. So it covers a world of sin, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little later. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Mike. Go around. Let's start. How about Arnie? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Arnie Longboy. Daughter is Theo, who should be also on this Zoom call somewhere. Yeah, and zooming in from London, UK.
Fantastic.
I suppose I could introduce myself since that was my dad. So I'm Theo Longboy, and I'm a sophomore at Pitzer. I'm from London, but I'm currently in Florida doing school from here. So yeah, thankful to be here.
I'm happy to jump in, Brandon, to finish off the group of 3. I'm Susie Balch Longboy, mother of Theo and wife to Arnie, also calling in from London, but from a different room than Arnie. So it's nice to see you all, and thank you for having us today. And I miss you, Theo.
I won't put anyone on the spot, but I know we have a few others.
How about James?
Thank you very much. I'm James, a proud parent of Pitzer. I'm zooming in from Kenya. I'm a dad to Michelle Muturi. And we're very glad that we can zoom in and have a chat. And thank you very much for all the work you're doing there and support you continue to give Michelle. Thank you very much. We are proud parents of Michelle Muturi. Thank you. She's in 2nd year now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Brandon?
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce Stephen Chang, one of our Board of Trustee members, who is also a Pitzer alum and a Pitzer parent. And I'll let you go from there, Stephen.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm now here relaxing in the UK in the Lake District.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful weather here, end of the summer. The reason why I'm here was I have a daughter, Tiffany, who is a sophomore, but she actually is taking a gap semester off this semester. And she found a job interning in London. So she is happily working and just telling me last week, hey, how come people working are so easy? They get off work and they have nothing to do, right? The students are all sort of busy working all day. So here we are in in the UK, but our family, it's actually from Hong Kong.
Wonderful. And we have Ruth. Ruth, can you hear us? Not sure if Ruth, can you hear us? I'm not sure if she can. I think you might be on mute. No, I think we're having issues hearing you, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'll just add in that for Ruth and for James, how wonderful it is to have Michelle working with us as a student employee with the advancement office. Last year, she was exceptional, and she's just been such a great part of our office and the group of students who work with us. So couldn't be happier to have Michelle with us, and so glad that she's back for her sophomore year.
Oh, I think we can hear you now. Awesome.
There's Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much. So we appreciate a lot for all the support, Michelle.
Okay.
Because
I think there's some feedback issues. Okay, technology, always fun, always fun. I think we have a few others on the call. Let's see. I think Garma? Let's see.
Garima?
Yeah.
Is Garima Jane on the call?
Mm-hmm. Garima Jane?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, we're just introducing ourselves. Just wanted to go around before we get started.
My daughter. Yeah. So hi. I'm from India, and my daughter Ananya Maskara is a freshman. Mm-hmm. She just started now, so she's doing her classes online.
Well, thank you so much. Welcome to the call. Welcome everyone.
Thank you.
To the call. And so I think we'll just go ahead and kick things off. We'll hear a little bit from our panelists, and we'll start with President Oliver.
Thank you, Brandon. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see you. Normally, we would do this in the president's home, which we're doing this from, but several of you I remember from last year's reception we had. So this is our opportunity to welcome you to the Pitzer family. If you haven't been welcomed already, being a part of the Pitzer family is one of the wonderful perks of parents of our students. I've had parents say at their senior year that they feel kind of sad that they won't be able to come back for Parents Weekend. And I tell them, once a Pitzer parent, always a parent. You can come back forever to Parents Weekend. So that's one of the perks. So we hope to see you. My wife, Suzanne, is with me, and I'm going to have her say a few words.
Well, as you can imagine, the best speaker in the family you've just heard from. I do want to welcome you to our home, and it is very different for us this year as it is for those of you who've been here before. And those who have not yet, we look forward to welcoming you. We love having you in our home. It is so special. It brings the warmth. And one thing that I do speak about is the care that we give to our students. And I have to say, especially our international students, if maybe you won't repeat that, although it just is taped, we know the distance that you send your children to us, and we have a real regard for that, and it's very important to us. So thank you for all of us having to tolerate this format, but the eager part is we will get back together soon. And be sure you're in our dining room, because that's our Carl Benjamin right behind us.
Carl Benjamin is a painter that's from Claremont, and we happen to have probably the largest collection of Benjamin art, thanks to an alum who gave them to the college, and they are on exhibit in the president's home. So when you come, please enjoy them. Let me say a few words about the college in this period, which is unprecedented. This is a time in which all of us are struggling. A worldwide pandemic has really taken everyone by storm. We've had to adjust, and of course, it's really tough on all of us. Your students, I'm sure your family, household, our faculty, our staff. Our students just do not deserve this. They really need to have the security and the kind of rituals that go with being a college freshman, that go with being a student in a collegiate setting where they can grow socially, emotionally, and academically. This is not what we planned in any way. But one of the things I have to say is all of our constituencies, students, faculty, and staff have really come together to find a community in this effort. They've seen the challenges, they've come and they've met those challenges. Your students are doing online education, which is not the way we want to teach, and they're doing it with gusto. They're doing it with great odds against them. And our faculty, who have done an amazing job in putting together wonderful courses, and I'm so glad Alan is here so he can talk a little bit more about them, they're really making this not a chore, but an experience that's rewarding in every intellectual way possible. We have had to make some tough judgment calls. We had to make a tough judgmental call about whether to be in person or not. We did that the Pitzer way. We had a COVID task force that met up to twice a week, most of the summer. We made the decision that given the high infection rates in LA County, we could not open. Subsequent to that, LA County said, I'm sorry, but no institutions of higher education are going to be in person. And that is still in effect. And we will not know what the decision of LA County Board of Health is until after Thanksgiving. And in the meantime, we are trying to learn everything we can about what the experience of other institutions that have opened, what their experiences are, so that we can take the best of those experiences and apply them to the spring semester so that we can have students. And once again, that's all dependent on the County of LA giving us that permission. We've also had to make some tough financial decisions, and we did that the Pitzer way. We prioritized the most vulnerable people in our community, and we did some drastic cuts. Those cuts affected higher income employees more than lower income employees. We kept all of our most vulnerable employees who are among our most longest serving employees. We kept them on even if they had no work. It is something that we feel very strongly about. We also feel very proud that we made that statement. And it's costing us, but it's costing us in the right ways. We are trying to live out our values, and we appreciate everyone's patience with the difficulties that we've had in terms of our finances. But we are in fairly good shape, and we look forward to a time when we can have students on campus where we can go back to some sense of normality. And we are just excited for that day to come. So I'm going to stop now and give an opportunity for Alan to talk a little bit about the academic program.
Thanks, Melvin. Hi, Suzanne. Good to see you. I just wanted to I'll echo a little bit of some things that President Oliver said, but to fill in a little bit too, that last spring, as you may recall, for some of you who are certainly have students who are in their second year, that we had to leave campus, and that was very quick in March, and finished out the semester as best we could. And I think that that was a tremendous amount of work for students and faculty. That was an abrupt transition, and we finished out that semester with people doing the best they could with their courses. And we had never taught faculty never taught online before. Students had not had online education. So there were a lot of bumps in the road finishing out the academic year. I'm very proud that we were able to finish that out and that students made academic progress. That was one of our number one priorities as we wrapped up that semester. So then during the summer, as we started to plan for what this fall would be, not knowing if we would be online or be able to bring students back, faculty really engaged in a lot of work around retooling their classes, again, for the possibility to be online, and now we are. That included working with a consortial center for teaching and learning and doing some workshops and trainings through that center. We brought on board to Pitzer a consultant, an instructional design consultant who has worked with individual faculty members and with field groups to really focus on the pedagogical uniqueness of online education and how to translate some of the goals that faculty have for their classes into this new environment and the way that it's being offered online. And faculty worked a lot with each other. There was, I think, going back to some of the issues that President Oliver said about the community, that one of the parts of the Pitzer community strength is that faculty reached out to each other and did a lot of co-training, co-investigation, co-work on planning their courses and revising their courses for this online semester. And so we have now entered into a fall semester where there has been a lot of innovation in teaching for this environment. And I will say that I think that part of the summertime work was not just focusing on how and to teach, but also there's a lot of focus on what would be taught. And I say that because I think that in this environment, it allowed us or forced us to bring focus or refocus on what our core Pitzer values and mission for the education. And so there was a lot of redesign of courses too, to focus on what are currently what is happening in the world and how do we become problem identifiers and solvers in that. So some courses that have a pandemic focus as part of that. During the month of July, President Oliver announced a racial justice initiative that we were able to put in place some course development grants during the summer so that courses this fall, many of them have some component related to racial justice work. And then our own community engagement center took the bull by the horns and developed a lot of programming that allowed students or provided opportunities for students in the context of their courses to do community engagement work where they're located. So a lot of our community engagement work in the past has been very focused on Pitzer and Ontario area, but this semester our students are doing community engagement work remotely, but from their own locations. And we have, in a very technical way, more social praxis courses than is typical for semester, and part of that reflects the additional focus and motivation to make our curriculum relevant but workable in an online environment. And I think it was really changing how we do community engagement so that it is broader and also deeper through the online means. So I'm just gonna stop there for just, that's about the academic preparation and kind of what we have now started the path on this semester. And I realize that I have a very limited set of feedback that I get, but I have found on the faculty side, the positive side, the negative side is a lot of work, right? But the positive side is that faculty got back to the pedagogical interests they have in how they teach what they teach and how to teach in innovative different ways. And the other feedback I've received from students is that students see that work and appreciate that. And although the hours are difficult online, have enjoyed their classes. And I think are finding classes that speak to what is happening in the world right now. So that is what we have been doing as academically. And the last thing I will say about our faculty and students now is the other thing that our faculty did this summer, which was, I think, speaking to the community issues, is really engage in a lot of outreach to our students about Pitzer's education, mission values of Pitzer education, but also to try to hear from students about what they wanted and what were the problems or concerns they had in the spring that would inform how faculty revise their courses. So in addition to the trainings I talked about, there was also a lot of outreach to students over the summer, both in panel discussions and individually, and that outreach helped inform how faculty are teaching this fall. So there's been an incredible amount of work in a very short time. As President Oliver said, it is not our hope to continue this for a long period of time, but I feel very proud about how we have responded as an institution to really up the game from what happened in March to now provide a high quality education in the fall for your children here. So that is the academic side. I guess I will let Mike, I think, would be the next person to weigh in a little bit about the student support side of what we have done and where we are this fall.
Great. Thanks, Alan. Share a couple of thoughts before I give you some context or content, and that is, as much as I very much enjoy and respect Alan and Melvin and Neil, it's really good to see the rest of you because I'm tired of looking at them in Zoom meetings. And so just seeing new faces and hearing new voices, that's nice to have. So thank you all for being here, regardless of what time it may be in your home or wherever you are. And you know, we're also happy that we can bring families back together who are miles and miles apart. So you're welcome for the service, the Pitzer service. You know, the other thought I want to share up front is that, you know, I never thought I would see and hear the day and experience the day where dorm rooms have become such an ideal living environment that people are just pining for. Those little dorm rooms have become somehow these magical places that all of our students and especially their parents and families want them to return to. And so I'm looking forward to when we can welcome the students back to our residence halls, because I think they're going to have a much deeper and greater appreciation for those little boxes that they will call home for a while. And as a person who has worked in higher education for almost 40 years, and most of it actually in residence hall work, I just never thought I'd see the day where these were the glamour spots of the campus, living in a residence hall. So we are very much looking forward to welcoming students back to that experience. the rest of it, I just want to keep it brief because all of the resources and services that I would highlight for you, it's all on the website. You know, they're right there. They're easy to access. They're all under the Student Life tab, and you'll see one for student support services, and everything is in there. It's highlighted. So let me just give you a few examples, though, of what we are now doing in the way of student support services that are online. As you might imagine, this is not a world that my staff and I ever imagined that we would be heavily dependent upon to support our students. But I've given my staff such credit. They have pivoted to this and have fully embraced it for this semester. And so probably at the crux of it is that we're creating communities based upon the classes. So the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year classes. And so there are plenty of opportunities now for those classes to gather as larger groups and as smaller groups, especially based upon their first year seminars. And there are RAs that you are all familiar with, that if we were in person in a residence hall, there would be RAs all over the campus. Well, we now have them all over our internet, our ether world, if you will, and that we have these community assistants who are the RAs, but they are now gathering their students and gathering the community online on a very regular basis. And they're doing that in conjunction with what we call academic guides, who used to be orientation leaders. And they were all excited and ready to go to welcome the community back to campus. And when we made the decision that that wasn't going to be possible in person this semester, they also pivoted to delivering their services online. And so we in the student life world depend heavily on peer leadership. And so those CAs and academic guides are right at the heart of what we are now doing online in supporting individual and groups of students. So I'd encourage the students to be engaged with your CAs and your academic guides and your class cohorts as a way of maintaining continuity and connection to the Pitzer community. You know, and then all the services that you know and came to expect here on campus are available online, including things like the student health services and our Mansour counseling and psychological services. As you imagine, they are doing predominantly telehealth, teletherapy kinds of things. But that is one of the silver linings to this experience, and that is all of these services have found ways to become more robust in the online world. And I anticipate that we'll carry that forward even when we're together to complement the in-person services and the foundation of our in-person services. But for now, we're pretty much limited to these online services, and you can access all of those, whether they are 7C services or Pitzer services, online. And I would especially refer you to MCAPs, to the counseling services, and to student health services to check out their resources. Because we know, I mean, this is such unprecedented time, and it creates a lot of stress on our students in new ways, in different ways. And so we're doing our best to provide support, whether it's through the RAs or through other student leaders or through the professional services. The last thing I'd highlight for you is what's called Strive to Thrive. It is our health and wellness program made possible by a very generous donation last year from a Pitzer family. And this was well before we ever thought we were going to need this kind of service in a virtual world. Fortunately, we have it and had evolved it to the point that it is really kind of the foundation for us in supporting our students from a health and well-being standpoint. And so I'd encourage you to go to the Strive to Thrive site and check it out in terms of the myriad of resources that are there and that are very, very helpful and that are available 24/7 now. And so those are the things, those are the platforms that we have now come to depend upon heavily in serving our students and the families. So to just remind you of those, as I said, everything I've just shared with you is online, easily accessible, and we encourage you to access those. So Brandon, with that, I will send it back to you, and we can go with questions or whatever else you want to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, President Oliver and Suzanne. Thank you for joining us. So really this next portion of the conversation is really for our families and students to ask the questions that you'd like to our panelists, our representatives here. So if there's anything that you are curious about or would like, sort of a deeper understanding of, this would be a great opportunity to do so. And we have our panelists here to answer those questions for you. So just either feel free to raise your hand virtually or in the chat box, or you can just call out. But we're here to answer your questions. Susan.
I have a question for you, Alan, and that is, what's the biggest challenge so far in delivering virtually for faculty, and do you feel like it's being overcome, or are there still more kinks to work out? What's been the greatest challenge so far?
I had to run through the quick challenges in my head. I will say, I know this is the greatest challenge, but I think what I've heard a lot, and I think it's both faculty and students, I think that this is exhausting work, right? And I think that everything, I see heads nodding, right? That in this environment, everything is so intentional and specific, right? So students can't drop by an office and ask a quick question of a faculty member, or ask another student, another in their class about something, because it has to be planned in an environment where it's either a phone call or a Zoom call. I think that, and that is, so expansive time is something. And I think then for faculty, and a lot of them are trying to do work that will be more accessible to their students who are in different time zones. And so recording a lecture and then putting that lecture up, or doing your lecture recording and now posting it later so that students can watch that's a lot more time to do, and it goes along with rethinking your class, right? So I can't just give an hour lecture. I mean, I guess I could, but that isn't great for this environment. Right? So I need to think about chunking the material differently, and then preparing it in advance and putting it up online. And so there's a lot of challenge there. And it's work that people are doing, but I think it's just that sheer amount of time and intentionality about everything. I think it hits both students and faculty right now.
And are faculty largely working from campus or from home?
No, most of them are teaching from home. That is in LA County, online education delivery is an essential task. And so some of them are teaching from campus, and really the way we're handling that is, there's a lot of safety and health guidelines for coming to campus. They come, they teach from their office, and then they leave. And a lot of that is because their materials for teaching are just located in their offices. So there's not a big faculty presence, and it's about 22 of them, I think, who are teaching from their offices, but they come in, teach, and then leave. Thanks, Mike.
I have a comment as well as a question. First of all, I wanted to thank the school, President Oliver, for announcing the decision to go virtual much sooner than a lot of the other schools. I can't tell you how angst-ridden some of our fellow parents were, not finding out how their children were going to be learning up until a couple weeks before the actual start. So it may not have been a decision that our daughter wanted, but on the other hand, she has expressed appreciation that we had some time to plan for what that would be. So thank you for that. The question is about, I understand we want to go back to face-to-face. Students and faculty want that. But what are some of the positives that you've had come out of this? And I can't assume a world in the future where it's going to be completely devoid of anything digital. And is it going to be more of, picking up some of what you learned from teaching virtually, digitally, and then incorporating that into when they're back face-to-face as well? Maybe like a flipped classroom sort of environment, or just some of the tools now that they've were forced to use and maybe using in some of their classes? I just want to hear some of that. Learnings maybe that you're going to incorporate once things get back to quote normal.
I'll start that answer. I know that you directed that to President Oliver, I think, but I'll start that just in terms of, I do think that I'll go back to say, I think part of what is a positive that's come out of this is that, again, that focus on Pitzer values and mission. And I think that that has brought greater coherence across our curriculum and across the programming in the college. And I think that we will be able to build on that going forward in part of it out of necessity this semester, but I think that that is a good thing, and it helps highlight the distinctiveness of a Pitzer education and the relevance of a Pitzer education. And I think that those will be good for us in terms of students' clarity as they progress through their educational experience here, but also as in recruiting our next sets of students. So I think that's a good thing. I think that what online teaching has done for our faculty is also jump-started them, I will say, in terms of thinking about flexibility and innovation in their teaching. And so a lot of people have been teaching for many years in the same way, and that now being forced to teach a different way, I think that I've already heard faculty say, I'm using different templates for teaching and organizing my class in a different way, focusing on my learning goals in a more explicit way, and in designing course modules rather than sort of an expansive class. And so I think that the reorganization of classes to more directly address learning goals will be something to come out of this. And I think probably you're right that there will also be now greater use of asynchronous tools. So I can incorporate videos and put them up for people to use as part of their classes. And I might not have done that before because I didn't really have to. Or recording my lectures and putting those up for students to use later. So I think that's another, I think, that innovation will continue on, I think, past this semester. And I had one more I was going to say, but it's just left my mind at the second. But I'll stop there because I think there are ways that this teaching experience is helping faculty think about their teaching in lots of different ways. And I think that will also be something they will carry through, not just the tools, but also the perspective on their courses and teaching.
I'll just add that prior to this experience, I would say most professors in liberal arts communities looked at online tools as the enemy. And I think this has given them an opportunity to see that there are some innovations that can actually help them teach and make them more effective. And as Alan said, create a very different kind of course for their students. So this is one of those things where I think this is going to have some very positive benefits in the end.
Yeah, I'd add on the co-curricular side, one great example is telehealth services and teletherapy services. For some of you who may be familiar with, counseling and psychological services as a profession, you know that for the most part, psychologists and counselors have resisted forever and ever the idea of being online to deliver any of their services and any of the therapy. And for understandable reasons, but we have no choice right now, and they have no choice. And so we have adapted, and it has evolved so that we can now deliver some level of online therapeutic services and support. And that's one of those things I imagine that ability will continue even after we're back in person. There are group sessions that are being conducted now online, and they're conducive to that. They're still not a substitute for the in-person experience. We readily acknowledge that. That is our foundation. That is the core of who we are. But these will be complementary to that in-person experience. And before this time, there was really not much interest and motivation for our colleagues to try and develop out those kinds of services. And now we have them, and we will have them. And so that will be very, very helpful. We've also enhanced the telehealth services for our students, and so there are multiple platforms that students could now access, which will be the case even after return. So those are all things that I know that students, for the most part and stereotypically, are much more comfortable with than we old administrators. And this is a good thing that has pushed us in that direction now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or families or students on the call?
I don't want to monopolize the time, but Mike, since you raised it, are you seeing kind of different well-being issues with students being, more feelings of isolation, or are they having to counsel families instead because they're stuck with their families, or even parents?
That's a great question, and we have always had conversations with students that were about all those things, including about family dynamics and those kind of things. But I think they are more intense, and they're more immediate, and people really can't get away from it now for the most part, especially if they're in the same physical space, which is often the case. And so the intensity of it, the immediacy of it, and the inability to escape some of that just accentuates it. Having said all that, people are finding their ways to cope. And so I don't know that we are seeing crisis situations more than we saw before, but we are seeing students having different kinds of frustrations and needing different kinds of patience and stamina, especially. Alan referred to, people are weary of taking 4 classes, for instance, online, either teaching them or taking them as students. And so I think we're needing to having to help people find kind of a new rhythm for things. How do you pace yourself through now a semester, potentially a year, in which this could be the learning and community development environment? So how do you pace yourself through it? I don't think any of us were set up to have this be the constant in our lives, to have this kind of delivery system be the constant, but it may be. So we're all learning about how do you navigate that from a well-being standpoint. So I will say our counseling services folks, they're still busy. And our student health services folks as well, not quite as much, but they do have business still coming in the portal, if you will, for support. So, and my own staff, we have a social work case manager and 2 or 3 folks that do this on a regular basis. And they are continuing to work with individual students, especially on some things around academic accommodations. This is a new world to learn from. And so we are all learning about how to do that when students have different learning needs and physical and psychological needs. So that continues to happen as well. And then, the last thing I would mention in regards to your question is, we are all still living through some very, very difficult times beyond the pandemic. And so we, as you all know, we are in a community in which social justice, social activism is at the core of our DNA. And so that's been hard on people to be physically separate and not be able to be together during these kinds of times. And so finding the ways online to be able to do as much of that as possible is certainly there. And then for a lot of the West Coast, the last couple of weeks have been miserable. Couldn't even go outside, the smoky weather, all those things all coming down at the same time now created its own sets of challenges, not just for our students, but for all of our community members. So fortunately, the days and nights are much more clear and less smoky. So hopefully we've passed that particular challenge. We'll wait for the next one.
Any other questions from our families and students on the call?
Maybe we'd like to hear how are our students doing? What kind of feedback are you getting from them?
Okay. Thank you very much once again for organizing this forum. We appreciate a lot, and we'd like to thank Pitzer, the entire board, the lecturers, all those who are taking care of the students. When we compare what we hear of other students who are from different countries, different universities, for us, we feel that Pitzer is very much ahead because when you look at Michelle, she's very well guided as a professional offers information, and especially for her because she's holding the classes. We have got 10-hour difference. So here in Kenya now it's 8:17 p.m. Most classes, but when given office hours, constant guidance. So anytime maybe we are sorry for she's very confident. She said, I have a backup of my university, and she's well guided, and she feels that her professors and her teachers are easily accessible at the same time for also the counseling and the health services. So she's very positive. There are very many students from different universities here in Kenya, some from UK, others from US, and they are struggling a lot. And but with much joy to see Michelle is coping because of what she has been, the support she has been given, and we appreciate a lot. Also for many constant communication. We kept on receiving information about the decisions to be made, and even when she remained in campus before she came this way to Kenya, support was given very much. And for her, when we think she should be worried, she's the one telling us, do not worry. There are students from other universities that should worry. No students from Pitzer should worry. And that is very, very, very comforting for us. It removes a lot of emotional burden from us. And thank you once again. And we are privileged, and we count ourselves privileged to be parents at Pitzer.
Thank you so much for that comment. I love hearing the word joy. I don't hear it too much.
Jace, I also want to thank Michelle. Michelle has established a wonderful foundation for herself in her first year last year. And she put a lot of work into establishing those relationships and those foundations that served her well last year, but are serving her especially well this year. And she's doing what we have constantly harped on our students to do, and that is to reach out and to engage. And so she's a great example of that. So as much as you appreciate the support that she's been receiving in our other students, Michelle's a great example of, she takes advantage of what is available here. And we just want to make sure our students really do that. And so, plus her leadership within her peer community has been significant. And so that helps sets the tone. And that's an important part of the experience and helps all of us get through this kind of time, especially.
Hey, Mike, at the outset, I'd mentioned how great it was to have Michelle working with us in the advancement office. And I forgot to mention that Theo is another one of our outstanding students who work with us in advancement and working with all of our alumni and families. So Theo, thank you for the work that you do for the Pitzer community, because you're just a great asset for our team here at Pitzer as well.
Thank you so much. And I also just wanted to say that just I'm having a very similar experience, I would say, to Michelle, in that my professors have just, you know, from my personal perspective, that my professors have been so so great during this time, and they've been adding extra office hours, and time difference isn't so bad for me here, but I mean, the amount of extra time that has gone into planning to accommodate for either international students or just even students who have very different schedules and different priorities right now has just been absolutely incredible, you know, with extra like tutoring hours, student tutors, and all of that. And I also wanted to say that I have some Pitzer classes and I also have some classes from the other campuses. And the difference in support with faculty from Pitzer versus the other campuses has been immense, and I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, so thank you everyone who's worked really hard on that.
Great. And for the parents on the call, I want to put a little pitch in for one of the key projects that we've been doing out of advancement, and that's our Pitzer at Home program that's been under Brandon's leadership. And that's where we're trying to bring the Pitzer academic experience to our alumni and to our families. So keep an eye on our website at the Pitzer at Home link, because there's the opportunity to join into a format like this and be a part of a lecture by a faculty member, or we have an artist series as well. So we have some really good things going on. So you as a parent can also be a part of the Pitzer academic experience and share that with your student. So we hope that you'll join when you see something of interest.
And thank you, Brooke. I think she actually just put the link inside of the chat box so you can all access that directly. We're all so excited to have you be a part of our community. And I think one of the benefits of this virtual experience has been the access in different ways that we haven't had before. And so I'm just so thrilled to be able to see all of you and welcome all of you and have our wonderful panelists and President Oliver and Suzanne to join us today. Are there any other questions before we? Okay, well, I would like to kick it back over to President Oliver for just a few closing remarks before we say goodbye.
Well, Brandon, thank you. And once again, I'm just going to say thank you for taking the time to join us. You know, it's always great to have the voices of others join into the mix. Mike was right. I'm tired of seeing him. And so it's wonderful to have your voices and to hear from you. But seriously, this is a great opportunity for us. We're in different time zones, but we have a chance to exchange views. You have a chance to hear directly from the leadership of the college. And I look forward to continuing this dialogue. And it is a beautiful day in Claremont. So when the kids get back, they'll have more days like this. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Take care.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.